All right, mic check, I'm good. So I'm Ceron, CWB Association Welding podcast. Today we have a really cool guest, Welding podcast.
The show is about to begin.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the CWB Association podcast. My name is Max Ceron, and as always, scouring the globe for the best talented stories I can find. This week we are at Fabtech in Chicago, having a fantastic time. Man, it's been a blast, my old friends, the new industry, the new technology. It's been great. And one of the new people I met this week is Alisyn. So how's it going, Alisyn Palla here from California.
I am well. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Great. I've been having lots of fun. This is what I do. This is, I'm tired. I'm sore, but this is what I get paid to do. And it's been a really good time. And I'm loving the show.
Sounds like a pretty neat job to me.
It's kind of a job that I created for myself almost. So it's kind of like, hey, this is what I'm going to do. Will you pay me? It's like, yeah, okay.
Those are the best ones.
Yeah.
Right.
So, Alisyn, you're here from California. What is it that you're here to do? What brought you to Fabtech?
This is my first Fabtech, and it's been a fantastic experience. I have gotten to meet people that I follow on social media who are just as cool in person as they are on social media, and I'm like a sponge right now. I just want to learn as much as I can about the industry because I'm pretty new to it. So,
well, I saw you yesterday. We caught you on the floor for a bit, and you thought I was a creepy person, but. Then you started talking to some of our friends there.
Right.
And you were like, I'm getting like information right now. Like this information is flowing into my brain.
Right.
And was that like when you thought I'm going to go to Fabtech because this fairly well-connected internet social media community.
Right.
That you would come to Chicago to learn about welding or to practice, or you're looking at equipment? Like there's so many different variables of things going down.
There's so many different people here and all different kinds of manufacturers and everything in the industry, people in the industry. Mm-hmm. I came because I have been dabbling with welding for like the last 10 years. My neighbor gave me a used Harbor Freight flux core MIG welder 10 years ago, and was like, here, I'm moving to, I think he moved to Bangladesh or something. He's like, I can't take it with me.
That's a serious move.
Right. Would not take a Harbor Freight welder with you to Bangladesh, right? So he leaves it for me and he's like, here. And I was like, I don't know what to do with this thing. My dad had always built cars and dairies and all kinds of things, and I'd follow him around in the shop. When I was in high school, we built a 1956 Ford pickup, slammed it,
Nice, fun.
Super great. And so I'd always kind of like followed him in the shop, but he would never teach. I never learned how to weld. So I also was scared of sparks when I was little. Now I can't get enough of them. So it's kind of weird how things change.
Can't get enough of them, like looking at them, or like them burning your arm and you being like, yes.
All the above, because I'm kind of like a hot mess in all aspects. Yeah. So, so he gave me the welder and I YouTubed the out of how to weld and read as much as I could, and just started building things in my garage. And most of the things I first built, I probably don't think that they're still in existence because
they would have broken apart.
100%. It was kind of like using, what is that, stick glue, like a glue stick to put things together. It doesn't always work.
Not load-bearing structures.
Right. No. So I kept. I didn't have a whole lot of time to practice because I was still a full-time litigation attorney way back in the day. So I would weld and make things around the house, and then people would, like friends and family would be like, hey, can you make me this? And so I'd do it. So it was like maybe hit and miss. And there was a period in the last 10 years where I probably didn't even go in my garage or shop or whatever it was, or weld at all for probably 5 to 6 years. And so
you started, kind of walked away, got back.
Right. Oh, lots of walking away, because as a full-time litigation attorney, sometimes I worked anywhere from 40 to 120, 140 hours a week. Like if I'm in trial, I pretty much don't go home. So not a lot of time for creating. And I always have been somewhat artistic or creative. And so I kind of turned the whole, I wanted to see what I could do with metal. And fast forward this February, I'm now in-house counsel for one of my longtime clients, and I love it. It's so different. I got tired of fighting.
Way more chill, yeah.
I got tired of fighting. I'm in my 40s now. I'm too old to fight all the time.
Yeah.
So I am in-house counsel, so that affords me an opportunity to do more. So in February, I decided this year I'm going to see what I can do. Like, let's really just put the energy into creating and really welding and working with metal and I use other construction materials in my work. So I went and saw Stephanie Hoffman at Underground Metalworks in February, and it changed my
So you went
everything.
and took the course?
I took a week-long course with her, and she's fabulous. And it gave me confidence because I welded, but I never called myself a welder. I didn't even call myself an artist. So working with her gave me that confidence to be like, oh my gosh, like I really can actually weld. And now my stuff sticks together because I actually can weld. Thank you, Stephanie. No, so, and we became friends, and I asked her about Fabtech. I'm like, what do you think about me going to Fabtech? Is it too early in my jump off into whatever happens?
No.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what she said. She's like, go, why not? Like, I consider this to be my year of yes. Like all the things uncomfortable, like talking to you right now, but I'm just kidding. No, no, but all things uncomfortable, like this is my year to just push myself, push my boundaries and see what happens. I have zero expectations. And the last 6 months have been, since I went to Underground Metalworks, it has been a wild, but super awesome ride.
So let's talk about the decision to go take a course from Stephanie from across the country.
Right.
You're in California.
Right.
She was in Jersey, I believe. They had it there.
It's like right around the corner.
Right. And so you decide to there is a train that goes from California to Jersey, I believe.
There is?
Yeah. It's almost direct. It goes in through Michigan.
It takes like 2 months.
Yeah. So really, the crops change before you arrive.
Right.
So what was the decision for you? Because I mean, that's an investment.
Why there?
Yeah, that's an investment.
Right.
Like there's a travel investment, there's a time investment. Sure. I'm sure there was a school in your area that you could have taken, right? So why that?
So I don't, other than my dad, who's built lots of things, cars, dairies, all the things, I don't really know any welders. And I did some research. I honestly wanted to learn from a female instructor. And I had watched the Metal Shop Masters series, and I did some research, and I found out she had a school. And I was like, you know what? Year of yes. Why not? You've got flight miles. New Jersey is not really that far away. I mean, except for it is far away if you fly into Atlantic City instead of Philadelphia, and you have to take a bus. That did happen because on the East Coast, things are a lot closer together than they are in California. So I Googled closest airport to where it was going, and it turns out logistically it's absolutely not.
That's not.
Yeah. So for all of you who are going from California to the East Coast and you need to go to New Jersey, please fly into Philadelphia and save yourself the drama. And the bus ride twice.
Well, we had a guest this morning from Philadelphia. Like everything's coming together for us.
Yep. Full circle.
So you decide because of her exposure. She's out there. She's on TV. She's got great social media presence, or I should say Underground Metalworks had a great presence.
Still does.
Yeah, it still does with Jason. They're doing a great job. And you decide, I'm going to go take this course.
Right.
What kind of courses were offered? How'd you pick the one you want to do?
So Underground Metalworks offers a great variation of courses, right? If you just want to go and do a weekend MIG class, or I think they do nightly sessions if you live closer, and you can go like every Wednesday, or at least that's how it was when I did the research about it. And what attracted me was I now call myself an artist. And so she had a sculpting class, and I wanted to learn more about manipulating metal and also the welding stuff. So I looked, and she conveniently had a 1 week MIG TIG stick class or arc, and also so Saturday was off, and then Sunday was a sculpting class. So that was a sign to me that it was meant to be just go learn. And I had never, prior to going to Underground Metalworks, I had never held a TIG gun in my hand. I've never stick welded. I still have to this day. I've not stick welded. They try to get me to do it, but I don't want to mess up my hair. So
I love stick welding.
I've never done it.
It's so fun. It's like the most raw power feeling.
Well, and I think I would probably use it for some cool textures, like in pieces, like if it called for it. And I do want to. And
different electrodes have very different textures too, like even between alloys.
Right. Yeah. That's what I've heard. I still don't know. I have a Multimatic at home, and so I can do
whatever,
all three.
Yeah.
I just am so busy, especially right now. I'm so busy doing the commissions that I'm working on that I'm stuck doing MIG for a little while. But I am going to practice that TIG stuff for sure.
So you come out of this course. When did you take it? You said February?
February. It was like early February.
Okay, so you come out of this course. You're feeling inspired.
Yeah.
Stephanie a inspiring person.
1000%.
Right, and she's fantastic. So you come out and you're like, on your way back to California, already dreaming of how to use the skills you've just learned, right? I
listened to podcasts the whole way home on the welding podcast. I'm like, give me all the info. Yeah.
So then you get back home, and are you like, that's it? I'm an artist. I'm gonna start just building and this is what's going to happen, or what happened next?
So in February, while I was in New Jersey, Stephanie was like, we went to dinner and she's like, what do you want to do with your life? And I was like, okay, like I don't really have any expectations. I have like a handful of goals. I want to try and get 500 followers before the end of the year. I want to be cool enough in the world that people find what I do and they think I'm cool, so they hire me to build cool stuff. Like that's not a huge expectation. And then I was like, I want one company on the planet to send me something free. Just one. Just send me, I don't even care if it's like a sticker, like here's your sticker, tag us. I'm like, okay. Yeah. And then I wanted to be invited to do a public art installation. So those were like, those are my goals. That's the big
one. That's a tough one.
That's a big one, right? Yeah. So I left super inspired, motivated, probably more inspired and motivated than I've ever been in my life, actually, counting my previous legal career, all the things I've done, all the crazy, that opportunity to go learn.
It resonated.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Changed everything. Yeah.
And so now you get back to California. You're back home. You're back in the garage. 200
followers.
Right. And what are the first steps you start taking now? I mean, first of all, you can probably leverage Stephanie.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
I try not to.
Right. But it is a thing that you can do. Like it happens. Like I'll be like on social media. Like, why is someone tagging me? I was like, I'm not the person to tag to get you any more followers.
Oh, I'm going to tag you.
Well, I love it. I just like to know what people are doing.
Right.
But, that could be an angle. Like, hey, Stephanie, how are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Ting, you're going to get 500 tomorrow.
Right.
But like you said, you didn't really want to pull that card.
No,
right?
I have some friends who are in marketing and like social media, and I reached out to them and I'm like, how does this work? Because I'm like borderline boomer, right? Technology is not my friend. I spent my life typing and researching online, and that was the extent of it. Beyond that, I didn't want to touch computers because I sat in front of one all day. So I had to learn a lot about social media. And when I started, I had like 220 followers or something like that. And, I hired a family member. She was pretty new to social media, and we kind of like worked together, and then she got married and got busy and did all the things. In the meantime, I like kind of followed what she did and learned. And initially I hated it. I absolutely hated social media. It felt like work. It felt like
it's a chore.
It is so much.
Yeah.
So
you got to invest into it, or else it looks like garbage.
You do. And so I had to change my mindset. So I'm a creative. Like, how do I make this fun? And so I started learning how to make reels, and I tried to film myself and take pictures, and then try to be creative with the process of social media. So make something fun, make something that engaging, I feel good about. Like I want to watch it. And if I want to watch it, maybe you'd want to watch it too, or whatever. So I started doing my own stuff, and in the last 6 months, have gone from 220 followers to, I think I might have hit 1,500 today. I haven't had a chance to check. So 6 months, it's been a wild ride, right? So I started social media, and then a couple people locally hired me to do some stuff. I just got hired to, about a month ago. I have 2 months to build it's like a 63-foot metal grapevine sculpture for probably the busiest Italian restaurant, locally owned Italian restaurant in our community. And they're opening a new location, and my sculpture is going to basically span the entire length of the new dining room.
Wow.
So it is, for a local opportunity, it doesn't get much better than that.
So 500 followers, check.
Yeah.
Commissioned art piece, check.
Yeah. Cool stuff, check. Yep.
Free stuff.
So there was a company called Bocomal, Bocomalfr. I ordered their stuff on Amazon, right? And I was wearing it, and I tagged them because I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm just going to tag. If I use your product, I'm going to tag you because I don't know what I'm doing. And so I tagged them, and they reached out, and they're like, your content is so cool. Well, if we send you some shirts, will you please put something out there? I'm like, oh, it's happening. Like I'm getting free stuff. Yay. And actually I ran into him at Fabtech today, and when we were working together initially, I asked them, I'm like, do you have a woman's line? And they're like, no, we don't. I was like, that's, I think, frustrating for me is I'm 5'4" with socks and shoes on, right? So if I'm not wearing my welding boots, I am not very tall. And so if I put on a men's FR shirt, it comes down to my knees.
It's a dress.
It's almost more dangerous than just wearing a regular cotton shirt.
Right.
And so I am trying to, the companies that I have worked with or reached out to, I'm trying to encourage them to do more women's apparel, gloves. And so I got free shirts, and I saw them. They're like, we just came out with a women's line. Will you try it? Will you give us your feedback? Will you help us with our research? I'm like, absolutely. Yeah. I'm absolutely willing to light myself on fire for
No, that's awesome. Like the women's safety gear is still a struggle, right? Like in Canada, we work with a company called Cover Gals, and all they do is it's a female-owned and operated company that only does women's safety gear, like smaller gloves, PPE, hard hats, things that'll fit women.
I didn't know about them. I'll have to check them out.
But they don't have welding FR stuff yet. So but they started in the construction space. So they were working with construction, roofers. We started talking to them like, well, when's welding? So I know it's on their game plan.
Well, if they need somebody to try them out, I'm happy to do so.
Find them on Instagram.
I will. I'm going to.
Yeah, and be like, yo, Max.
Yeah. Hey, Max. Yep.
So, let's rewind, okay? Because Dad was, knew how to weld, did some stuff. You love the vehicles and that world. It sounds like you had some fun projects there in the family. And as a young woman coming out of high school or girl, you decide to go into what? Like you decide to go into trades, or you decide to go into what was your passion at that point? Like you're 17 years old coming out of grade 12.
Right. So I'm a dairyman's daughter. And so I grew up around animals and agriculture. And I live in a very agriculturally dominant and oil and gas industry community. And so I went to school to be a vet. I went to UC Davis, which has got a great vet program, and I took basically chemistry for dummies my first quarter, and I was like, absolutely not. Yeah. We need to pivot and figure something else out because math and science apparently are not my jam. That's why I do art, because then it doesn't have to be perfect, right? I can just be like, it's art. So I pivoted, and I ultimately graduated with like a 2 bachelors in sociology and political science. What are you going to do with that? I either had to teach or go to law school. Yeah. So I took the entry exams for both and decided I would go law school route because everyone told me I was good at arguing.
I hear that a lot. Oh, yeah. Like when little kids, this one's going to be a lawyer. Yep. Yeah. And then every lawyer that I know is like, I wish I wasn't a lawyer. Right. Like, right. Yeah. Yeah. We were talking about this the other day. Yes, we were. Yeah. My undergrad was in philosophy, and 90% of my friends are lawyers. That's it's like a preferred degree to get into law school is to have philosophy.
It's helpful. I was one class away from a philosophy minor because I loved the classes. Yeah. And anytime I could do a philosophy class in order to substitute like political science, that's what I did. So yeah.
And for me, it was like the options were either get your doctorate in philosophy to teach. There's no middle ground there. It's either all the way or nothing, or really nothing, because I didn't want to go to law. Like I was like, I just don't. And I went back to welding. Yeah. So it's like I was a philosophical welder.
Okay.
Right?
I mean, why not?
Why not? And it all full circle ended up helping. And like education is never bad. Doesn't matter
Agreed.
What you learn, right. You learn what you want to learn. It'll come in useful someday. But for you, deciding to get into law, what was that like? Like, were you excited about getting into law?
I mean, I guess. Yeah. So I have always loved to problem solve. The bigger the problem, the more fun it is for me, the more complicated. You bring me something that is impossible to solve and I will figure it out. And because not just by myself, like you have to use other resources, right? And so using that problem solving aspect, I still love that about law. And my old firm will call me, like if they have projects, they're like, hey, we have this super complicated matter. Can you work on it?
Put some time on it.
Yeah. And I will, because I love my old firm. Like they were very, very good to me. And it just came time for me I hit 40 and I got tired of fighting. And so in-house general counsel was calling my name.
And what type of law did you go into? What was it that you wanted to do, specifically?
I always wanted to do family law. And then I had a family law instructor when I was in law school that I was like, nope, I'm not doing that. So, and again, that's like, it doesn't get any more fighting than that. So I'm glad I didn't go.
Weeds.
It's bad. Yeah. So I ultimately, because my family in the dairy and ag industry, I was like, well, I'll do agricultural law, water law. And I wound up I went to a firm that had agricultural attorneys in it. They did ag law. And I wound up getting sucked into full litigation because I was told, because of my personality and my ability to problem solve and think on my feet, I was going to do transactional work. And they were like, absolutely not. Like, nope, no way. You're going to be in the courtroom and you're going to like it. It's kind of basically how it worked out. And so I spent 16 years doing complex business litigation, like trial work.
And did you enjoy it?
Am I supposed to be honest? I'm just kidding. Yeah. You know what?
I mean, this is your space. Yeah.
So law is
like pros and cons.
So pros and cons. So law, I know some attorneys who absolutely love it. They eat it up, right?
My best friend is loves
Yeah.
his, like he has
Yeah.
his own firm. He hated working for
Yeah.
somebody else,
Yeah.
but then he opened his own firm and he is like refound his love
Yeah.
for law. Yeah.
I love the problem solving. I like the challenge. If someone tells me I can't do something, guess what? I'm going to do it. So I'll figure it out. So that to me was, I mean, I had multi-million-dollar clients, and I did primarily defense litigation where they come to me screwed.
Yeah.
And my job is to unscrew them. And I was good at what I did because I am willing to think outside the box, and I'm willing to collaborate with my peers and any resource I can get to fix the problem or solve the problem. And a lot of times attorneys will actually get in the way. You have to think rationally and approach situations reasonably and fairly. And a lot of attorneys are just like, they're in it for the fight and they want to fight no matter what, but that's not in the best interest of the client. So I did like that. I always had super great relationships with my clients. And they even to this day will reach out to me and be like, hey, how's it going? They all had my cell phone number, the good ones. And so I do miss the relationships that I had with clients. I was in court actually so I went in-house in October of 2019, and I have not set foot in a courtroom until about 2 weeks ago. And I had to pull the monkey suit out and the heels and, do my thing. And I do miss court. I do miss court, and I miss the complex problem solving.
And it's a very on the spot thinking that has to happen.
It is. But I don't miss attorneys. I don't miss fighting. I don't miss it. And the daily grind. Like if I'm in a daily grind, I'd rather be out in my shop.
Yeah.
So
the cons were time.
Yeah.
Commitments.
Yeah. It took me. So I was a billable attorney, meaning I billed by the hour.
Yeah.
And so I can literally look at the clock and be like, oh, that's 0.3, 18 minutes. Oh, that's 0.2, 12 minutes. Oh, that's 0.4, 20. Like my brain it took about 2 years for me to stop looking at my watch. Like you and I are having a conversation. I didn't look at my watch. Had you and I had a conversation 2 years ago, I would have been like, well, we started at, 0.1 and it's now 0.8. So that's the 0.7. And like my brain would just think constantly looking at the clock and being obsessed with the calendar, because the calendar is the fastest way to commit malpractice.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
So, you're doing this, you're working away. When does this bug start entering back into you that you want to do something else? Like there has to be a moment or a period of time where the questioning starts to happen.
I've always had it. I've always,
like even through your entire career, you're like,
through
I'm
school.
meant for something else.
Oh yeah. When the vet program at school didn't work out, I was like, oh, I'm going to go into art and design. I took one art class, and the instructor was like kind of mean about shading. And I'm like, yeah, but I like the way this looks.
They were shady about shading?
Yeah, they were shady about shading. That's dun-dun-dun.
Wait. No, I won't do it.
Oh, you have a drum roll?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
There we go.
That was awesome. That made my day right there. So, no, he was like really kind of almost mean to the class. And I feel very strongly that art is like, it's passion. It's you. It's a level of vulnerability that you can get it in other ways, but being a creative is putting yourself out there. It's putting your heart and soul into something and then sharing it with the world. That's scary. Yeah. And so after that class, I like clammed up and I was all, oh, I can't, I don't want to do art. And so, but I always needed an outlet. So I would doodle, I would do things, but I never showed anybody my work. Ever.
Were you artistic as a kid?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But I never showed anybody my work.
Really?
My whole life, I never, no. To put myself out there as an artist. It was just an
introspective thing.
Yeah. It was just it was just a way for me to just use that other side. Because two sides of my brain, right? I've got the analytical, logical side, the attorney side, and now I've got this crazy creative side that sometimes they don't get along. Yeah. Sometimes they don't. So, I would say I just kind of dabbled in when I found metalworking, I fell in love. Absolutely fell in love. Because it's fun. Like, and I just recently learned how to manipulate metal using heat, and I'm having a blast with it. Like I've been talking to all the vendors who have torch setups. I'm like, okay, how do I do this? Whatever. So, I think some cool things are coming down the pipe. So
that's awesome. So this change, you said, so in January, basically you're like, okay, I need to like commit to this.
Yeah.
See where it goes.
See what happens.
Right. See what happens. In. And like, I look you up pre-show, like I think last night and today.
Right.
there's already a website, right? Like there's a website. And
Yeah.
like, so Meraki Metalworks.
Meraki.
Right? Meraki, sorry.
Meraki is Greek.
It's Greek,
Yeah.
right? And it means like to climb a tree or something. No, what was it?
It means, so Meraki is a Greek term for if you're going to do something, do it with heart and soul, do it with
Right.
passion.
Cool.
And so that actually, I have a couple companies. I have Meraki Consulting, Meraki Construction, and Meraki Metalworks is a DBA for Meraki Construction.
Okay.
That company owns all my tools. So,
Yeah.
but I literally formed, when I wasn't doing art, I have a consulting company. So I do like project management and stuff now.
Okay.
And I named it Meraki Consulting because it was there, right? So when I decided to rebrand and do everything, I was like, this name is meant for my art. It's not meant
Yeah, it
for
fits.
consulting, because I was trying to put my passion into other things and it just wasn't feeding my soul. And it wasn't until this year when I just started creating more consistently. And I'm out in my shop probably most days by 2:00 because of what I do for my adulting day job. I can manage a lot of my adulting from
In the
my phone or
morning,
computer after 2:00 because it's mostly construction and
Okay,
stuff. So,
yeah.
or a phone call, right? Or an email, and I go back to doing what I'm doing. So, I decided to just jump in and see what happens. I'd never done that before. I'd always just done, what you're
Cautious,
supposed to do,
yeah.
right? Go to school, get a degree, get a job, do all the things. And I never gave myself permission to follow my heart. And I'm doing it.
You don't strike me as a person that would hold back.
Well, you got to remember, I was trapped in lawyer land for
Yeah.
a long time where, when I first started practicing law, ladies, don't roll your eyes. I wore closed-toed shoes, pantyhose, full suit, and, no tattoos. I had no tattoos when I first started practicing law. And then it just wasn't feeding my soul. I liked it. I mean, it was fine and it paid the bills, right?
Yeah.
But it didn't. And then I started kind of just being more open to being me and started getting tattoos and started buying the hot pink heels and pop of color. And then there went the hair, and the hair was it. So I decided life is too short not to be authentically you. And I don't have a lot of tolerance or patience for lack of authenticity anymore. But I'm in my 40s, and I hear as you get older, your BS meter gets a lot smaller.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Like people are like, "Oh, you're so much more organic now." It's like I don't have enough.
I'm too tired.
Yeah.
I am too tired. I have lived too much life, and I am too tired to be anything but what you see is what you get. And some people love it, and some people hate it, and I don't care.
Yeah, that literally shouldn't matter to anybody.
It does. Yeah, I don't care. So, so this is the year of yes. This is my year of jump in and see what happens. And I will say this: in 16 years of complex business litigation, you go to law school and you have these dreams of like making a difference, right? And I would volunteer here and there, but I just never felt like I was making a difference. And in the last 6 months of jumping in and taking a leap of faith and doing something I was absolutely terrified to do and being willing to be vulnerable to people I don't even know. Like social media is this thing where you put yourself out there and you have no control what happens.
And
on
it'll
the other
come
end
back.
of it. Sometimes it'll bite you and sometimes you'll soar, right? And so to do all of those things, it's scary. But for the first time in my life, I feel like I'm impacting. I've had dads reach out to me and say, my daughter found your page, or I've shown my daughter your page and you've inspired her. So I've had people reach out to me. I have other attorneys reach out to me who are also, and they play with, they do metalworking and stuff, and they're artists and creatives. And I've had more people reach out to me and say that I've inspired them than ever in the last 6 months, actually in the last 60 days, than ever before in my life. And if my journey can inspire just one person to take a leap of faith, jump in, do something they're scared of, take an opportunity that they never thought they would do, or follow their passion, then it's all worth it. It doesn't matter what came before that moment. It is all worth it. And I feel like I don't know if I'm making a difference, but if I am, cool.
I mean, the timeline's tight. Like
it's so tight.
Right, the timeline's tight.
It's been a wild ride.
Right, so January to February, and we got February. Now where are we? September? How many?
Oh gosh, I think it's September. This year's almost over.
Yeah, 7 months from February.
Yeah.
And website, social media, sponsors, a class and traveling. And you said that when you were on this ride back to California after taking the class with Stephanie, you were inspired more than you had ever been.
Absolutely.
And I'm feeling from you the energy that hasn't really subsided.
No, and it's not. I feel like
This is like the new norm now.
This is the new norm. And I feel like I'm finally on the path I was meant to be on. Yeah. And I don't know where it's going to take me, and I have zero expectations, but I'm here for the ride. And I haven't announced it yet publicly, so I'm going to give it to you. Are you ready? Right. I actually, whatever number on my little bucket list of 1 year, I've been hired by a city close by to
the public work.
I'm doing 3 separate public art installations this year.
So that's another. I think that's the final.
I think that's it. I got to come up with new goals. I think it's been so wild that I don't even know that I have goals per se. Yeah. I'm literally just here for the ride.
What's next?
Yeah, like
what's
let's do
next?
it. Like I'm ready for anything. And the projects that I've been hired to do are going to help me get a lot of exposure locally. And I'm grateful for that because, it doesn't come along every day, but it came quick, man. It came quick.
So in this path, you doodled, you hid it from people.
Yeah.
You drew, you hid it from people. No formal training as an artist.
Nope. Or welder, except for Stephanie's class. That's it.
Right.
That's it.
And then as an artist, except for the one class that you were like, no.
And I actually dropped the class before the end of the class. I lasted a month and I was like, I'm out. I can't do this. I cannot.
So these, aside from Stephanie's, obviously, they're not great experiences, not a lot of feedback, not a lot of direction.
Nope.
And then you decide that you want to be an artist.
Sure. Why not?
Okay. So
jump in, right?
Yeah. And that's fine. I mean, I could say, hey, I want to be an artist, but I kind of suck. And I've tried.
Art only has value if people put it on there, right?
Right. So like for me, I'm very, I don't know, industrially minded. Like, so when I build like things with precision and squareness. And I don't know if I have the aesthetic or the creativity on that. Like with that, I just don't think that way.
But even that's beautiful, right?
To me, right? To
it's
me,
creative
and I do
beautiful.
things like I do have people that are like, I need a work desk that'll do this and that, and this thing swing up. Yeah, man, I got you, and I can make that look cool, and it'll be like slick. But if someone's like, I need something for the front of my house, I'm like, like I don't know what.
You're like, here, let me give you this number. This number.
Like the sun. I don't like what. I don't know like what.
Yeah,
I just no idea. Like I'm blank, right? So, how do you get good? Because I went to your website and there's really nice stuff on there.
Thanks.
Right, and this is recent, so like that was a very fast and quick learning curve. So either you have some crazy hidden natural inborn talent that you just like scratched the scab off of and exploded out there, or you have like a divine intervention or something like because,
maybe both. I'm hoping for both. Like let's just go with both. I'm hoping for both. I think in my shop, it is a lot of experiments and failures to figure out what works. And I am currently limited by my lack of knowledge. And the only way to learn is to jump in and try and figure it out or take a class. But even taking a class is like, you can sit, like Stephanie is great. She's super hands-on.
It's specific skills.
It is. So I think that right now, when I say I'm a sponge, like I want to learn all the mediums. So this year I've done a pottery class, I've done glass blowing, I've done glass fusion. I took the week workshop with Stephanie. I want to learn as much as I possibly can because I love metal. Metal is my favorite. Probably 95% of the work I do is metal. But I've worked with concrete. I have a couple ideas in my head that are going to incorporate concrete and metal.
Concrete's my least favorite of all mediums.
Oh, come on. Why?
Because it's so messy and time consuming, and it can go south on you.
Yeah, so you just do it again. Or do something. So I will say this.
I'm so confident with steel that it's like if someone's like, can you make me something out of wood? I'm like, sure, but steel, right?
Yeah, right. So I had years ago, someone asked me if I could make them something out of wood. And I was like, you don't want it out of steel.
Yeah.
And she was like, no, I want it out of wood. And I'm like, yeah, but steel it lasts forever. And she was like, no, I want it out of wood. I'm like, fine. Yeah. So I work with wood. I've built vanities. I've built furniture. Wood is like less forgiving than metal though.
Yes.
Because I can add metal. I can't add wood.
No,
but
there's nothing more forgiving than steel when you learn how to use it.
Yeah. And so I think my passion is metal, but I'm willing to work with the other mediums. And I think my mediums are anything industrial and construction. Like I'm a terrible painter. Do not ask me to paint. You want me to sketch in black and white? Cool. Done. You want me to paint? Bye. Not happening. Please do not call me if you want a painting. It's not going to happen.
Well, considering how fast you seem to be getting good at things, and you're like, I suck at painting. Next
Maybe
year,
I can figure it out.
I'll see you, and you're going to be like, yeah, I just painted the new 16th chapel.
I actually found a local painting class. It's like a Sunday class. I'm like,
here
maybe
we
I'll do
go.
that, right? Watch out, world. Here I come. Yeah. So no, but to answer your question, trial and error. And to be honest, some of my favorite pieces that I've done have been ones where it was like emotional meltdown central. Like this piece could not get any more terrible. I don't know but I was talking to a friend earlier today. Some of the best learning opportunities I've had is just to experiment and screw up.
Yeah.
Like the best way to learn is because when you screw up, you have to figure out how to fix it.
Yeah.
And once you learn how to fix something, you don't forget what you learned.
Yeah.
If I go to you and I say, hey, how do I do this process? And you're like, blah, 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 blah. And you tell me how to do it. I'm going to go home and be like, what'd he say? But if I go back to my shop and I'm like, I'm going to figure out this process, right? You learn how it works. It gets like in your system to where it's like muscle memory or, and so you can do it. And so having been completely self-taught with the exception of Underground Metalworks, there's been a lot of trial and error. And so it's really fun. And so this piece that I'm doing for this restaurant, it's a process I've never used before. I had never used heat to manipulate metal. I always just strong-armed it. Like I'm strong. I'm like, I can do that. And I made my whole entire wedding bouquet. It's like a bunch of wrapped up steel, I used copper, brass, aluminum, and steel. And I just made a bouquet with it. Yeah. And I have to say, I think my least favorite was the brass. It's really hard to manipulate without heat.
And heat actually doesn't help brass move.
Oh, good to know.
more,
See, I would have probably put a torch on it and be like, oh, I made a stick. And nothing happened.
You can work, you can work cool colors with brass, but the problem is that it's considered a hot short. A hot short is the molecular structure. When you heat it up, it actually just tends to snap.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would have been bad to try and twist it after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good thing I didn't heat it.
certain types of aluminum as well.
Oh,
only bend when cold, not hot. So,
ooh. See, I'm like, okay.
But that's metallurgy world.
No, but that's so cool to me because like this week has been so amazing. Like if I get the opportunity, I'm going to come back to Fabtech like every year because the tradespeople I have met have been the coolest, most authentic people I think I've ever encountered in anything I've ever done.
They love to share.
You know what? Social media is cool that way, right? So if I have a problem, I can reach out to somebody. I don't know who you are. I follow you on Instagram, but hey, can you answer this question? Because I've never done it before. And the trades industry has been more willing than any other industry I've ever been part of. And I've done law, I've done construction, I've done real estate, I've done, I was a personal trainer, I was a CrossFit trainer. Like I collect licenses and certifications for a living. because I always.
Do you want to talk about CrossFit?
Oh, no. The first rule of CrossFit is they all say talk about CrossFit. Please don't talk about CrossFit. Like, I'm sorry for all you CrossFitters out there. I drank the Kool-Aid. I did it, but I am too old for it. I had 2 surgeries and a concussion in a 6-month period. Like, I was like, girl, you are too old for this. So yeah. Now I just work in my shop.
Yeah.
With my recent project, I don't need to work out because
it's heavy duty.
It was a lot of. Yeah, I called it dancing on my table.
Tell us about your most recent project.
So right now I'm working on the grapevine sculpture for the restaurant. And
63 feet.
It's like, it's going to sit on top. So there's the dining room, and this restaurant really likes to have the kitchen be part of the dining experience. And so my sculpture is 6 grapevines or 6 trunks. Each one representing a different family member in their immediate family. Because when they met with me, they didn't really know what they wanted. They just didn't want frosted glass. Like they didn't want to feel like a chain restaurant. They didn't want, in their current location, they have like a brass railing. They wanted something one of a kind, artistic, and they wanted people to walk in and just be like, wow, right. Yeah. And so they found out about me through a friend of a friend of a friend. And they reached out to me and I went and met with them. And they're like, well, do you have any ideas? And I was like, well, I love plasma cutting. Like that's how like, people who hire me locally, I hand draw and I hand cut everything. So they hire me for that purpose. And a lot of the work that I've done has been plasma cutting. And so I, of course, throughout, I was like, oh, we could cut some panels. Like we could tell the story of your restaurant or of your family or whatever. And they're like, yeah. And like, it's too bad we can't do a family tree. And I was like, Italian restaurant, wine. Who doesn't want wine at an Italian restaurant, right? Yeah. So I threw out the idea of why don't we do a vine sculpture and put some grapes on it. And, we toyed around with some ideas and they loved the idea. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, I've never done this before. Stop talking. Stop offering suggestions. You've never done this before. But it's actually been one of my favorite projects because of the learning opportunity. I've learned different processes. I've learned how to work with I always work with steel. The only time I've worked with anything else was my wedding bouquet. And then Stephanie taught me how to TIG aluminum, which by the way, I can't wait to do again, but I've been too busy. I came home and I set my multi-matic up for like all TIGging, and I still haven't turned it on because I've been too busy running my MIG life, trying to keep up with the momentum that things are taking right now. So anyway, yeah, so it's going to span the dining room, and then it goes up and over the arch entryway for between the server, where the servers go in and out of the kitchen. And then it continues down along another pony wall and then over onto a booth. I've never made something for something that doesn't exist yet. And that's what I'm doing. Like, it's a building that's currently under construction. So
that's the best time to do it, though.
It is.
Because you don't got to worry about scratching stuff or moving things around.
Yeah, but my client wants the vine to wrap around the column, and there's no way to do that unless you build it on site, right? Well, they're going to have all this big, beautiful, like fancy wood in there.
What if you built it all and then cut it down the two sides so it was like...
So I could absolutely do that. Where were you a month ago? No, I did. I thought about that, but then I was like, if it's not perfect, because construction's not perfect.
That's what hammers are for.
Yeah, I didn't want to be one of those girls who like shows up to install their piece and nothing fits. So I wanted to build it in a way that I was like guaranteed installation is happening.
Yeah.
So one of there's two columns, and so the vine's basically going to wrap around one side. I'm going to like put a leaf or a grape there to hide it, and then it'll come back around the other side because he doesn't care what it looks like on the kitchen side. Yeah. And so it was the easiest way to do it, not knowing what, and I've gone there and, the original measurements I took were one thing, and then I went back for the fit test and they were something different because
things have
just,
moved.
it's construction, right? And people, it's human error. Construction, it changes. And so,
well, carpenters have to be like within like what, a foot? Like,
yeah, I mean, so what, your door jam's a little crooked. No, but so it's been, and when I took the column pieces back, it was a perfect fit. So I'm happy with how it's going. And now the client was totally fine with me slapping some prefab grapes and leaves and stuff on there. And I spent so much time. So the metal I ordered came from Italy, and it's pre-stamped solid rod. It's beautiful. And it's so fun to work with because with the pre-stamped markings on it that look like vineyard rod, when I heat it, it just gets even gnarlier. Yeah, and so it's been really fun. And then, I went and looked at all
the leaves and grapes and stuff.
Well, I went to look at all the prefab stuff because I'm like, well, that's easy. Like, I couldn't do it. I get my artistic side. It made my eye twitch.
You wanted to cut it.
I don't like to use fakes. It's not fake stuff. Prefab stuff is great for certain applications, right?
Yeah.
I wanted it to be mine. Like, I want every aspect of this sculpture to be mine. Obviously, I bought prefab stamped. Yeah. There in the 2 months that I have to do this project, there's no way I could do that. There's some limitations, but the rod is beautiful. So and it came from Italy for an Italian restaurant. Like, it's got a good story. Yeah. And this particular client is really cool because they're building this restaurant. Even though they're outsourcing materials from other locations, all of the labor is local. Good. He's adamant about using local labor, which I admire. Kudos to them because that's cool. It supports your own industry, and it's like local advertising. Like, oh, what'd you do? Oh, it's all local here, so and so. So yeah, I made my own grape clusters, which I obviously never done before, and it was super fun. Like, I can't wait to get home and finish making grapes.
And what about the leaves? All plasma cut? Or?
So I hand cut over 100 leaves before I left, and then I tried a new process I'd never done, which somebody told me back in February while I was hanging out with her that you could soak stuff in vinegar and make the mill scale fall off. And I'm like, why have I been wrecking my hands my whole life trying to grind it off? I threw all the leaves in vinegar. Last Wednesday, right? And then I haven't been back out in my shop since because I came here. But Saturday before I left, I texted Stephanie. I was like, hey, I put those leaves in vinegar. Is it okay if I leave them until next Wednesday when I get back?
They can stay forever.
And she's like, I've never left anything in that long. I don't think that's a good idea. And I was like, so I ran outside real quick. And I have a picture of it. I almost posted it because I was like, this is real life. I was in my steel-toed boots because I hate dropping things on my toes. If I'm in my shop, I've got my steel-toed boots on. I was in my steel-toed boots, socks hiked up to my knees, like I don't even know, jammy shorts and like a shirt. And I'm out there cleaning my leaves, getting the vinegar off of them. And then I was like, okay, I got to keep them from rusting for the week while I'm gone.
Because now they're right open to the elements.
Now they're toast if I don't do. So I sprayed them all in WD-40 and I'm literally doing this to over 100 leaves. And I'm thinking, you're going to have to clean these again. You're going to do this process twice.
And you can't paint over WD-40. It peels off.
No, I know. So I do know that.
You have to heat them back up.
Yeah. And I'm going to add texture. They're all hand cut. I actually like the shape of them better than the prefab because they're imperfect and nature is imperfect. Yeah. And so when I get home, I'm going to bend them and tweak them and add some texture and see what I come up with. How do you add
texture? Chisels or?
So, Stephanie and Dave Rubin. I actually was talking to them both. I'm like, I gotta add texture. I don't want to use the prefab stuff. And collectively, they came up with the idea of throwing all the leaves in a cement mixer and just turning it on. And good luck. So I'm gonna try it, and we're gonna see what happens. I'm gonna throw them in probably just by themselves at first and see what comes out. And then if I don't get enough beat up texture, because you kind of want, leaves kind of have that like imperfect. I don't want to just put like flat steel, right? You put a flat leaf up, it's going to look ridiculous with everything else. So at a minimum, I want them to have like naturally occurring dents and movement and bumps and bruises. And I'm going to see what they look like.
So I learned in a blacksmithing class years ago about texturing leaves.
I'm a sponge.
Specifically.
Okay.
This may be a lot of intensive work that you may or may not ever want to do.
I have less than a month. I literally have 2.5 weeks of shop time to get this project done.
So you go find some 2x6, a piece of 2x6 lumber from a hardware store. Look for one with a knot, like a nice shaped knot, because it'll have the rings, right? And the little circle. And then you heat up your steel, your cut leaf until it's almost red. Then you hammer it on the wood.
On the knot?
On the knot. And it'll imprint because the knot will have natural ridges that are harder and softer. It'll push into the steel and it'll give it looks like the veins of a leaf.
That's pretty rad.
That go into the steel.
Okay, that's pretty rad.
I tried it. It works, but like you got to hammer each leaf hot on wood, which like this blacksmith made this beautiful flower. Like these leaves look like they were like flowing. Yeah. And it's like, how long did it take you? He's like, you don't want to know. Like,
I don't know if I have that kind of time.
So for the listeners, if you want to try that technique.
Can you air this after October 1st when my project is due and then just like pretend like this idea did not come before it was due? No, I think you know what's interesting though is I usually will have clients on the bigger projects are like, can you sketch it up for me so I can see? And I'm like, it's in my brain. You want me to sketch it? And I always tell them, I was like, here's an idea. It's not going to look like this. I'm just telling you up front because the process of creating
things will move. Things will change.
It does. And okay, so I drew it this way. That looks like I'm not going to do it that way because this looks way better. And so with all of my projects, I always tell them up front, like, you got to give me creative liberty. This is the overall concept, but let me play. Like, let me freeform. And 99.9% of my clients, unless they want something very specific, have been pretty cool about that.
Well, when it's your game, it's your gig, it's your art. Yeah. So like, how can someone argue that? Being like, well, no, actually,
you'd be surprised.
I'm paying you. Yeah. So since I'm paying you, and then it's like, okay, then if that's your attitude, go to Walmart, bro. Like,
when I first started like 10 years ago, so the first art pieces I ever sold were, I was walking around downtown and there was they have this like downtown art association and they had a big glass window and it was empty. And I walked in and I was just like killing time and I looked around and it was a bunch of like paintings, which I don't do paintings. Yeah. And they asked me, they were like, are you an artist? Ta-da, watch out. Here I come, world. And they were like, oh, are you an artist? And I was like, oh, I don't paint or anything. And they're like, yeah, but are you an artist? I'm like, no. And they're like, well, what do you do? And I was like, well, I
do art.
I play with metal. And they were like, really? Do you want to put some stuff in our space? And I was like, I'm looking around. I'm like, I don't really fit in here. And they're like, no, really, like this window space is open. You can rent it for $30 for the entire month and you'll be in the window. And I was like, okay, well, when do I have to like commit? And they're like, well, first Friday downtown is what we do. Every Friday, it's like an art walk or every first Friday of the month. And they were like, well, first Friday is this next day. And it was February 1st, which is my birthday. And so that's how I remember. So I ran home and I was like, what can I make in like 2 days? Yeah. And I look around and I real quick cut out a whole bunch of hearts and then I broke them, like made them broken hearts. And then I wound them back together with barbed wire and like leather and other random abstract materials. All of them sold that first night. So my first art piece that I actually made money was on my birthday 10 years ago. Oh, so that's how I remember. I know everyone's like crazy, like, how do you know? How do you know? And I'm like, it was my birthday. That's the only reason I remember. it was the first time I put myself out there artistically in the world because I had to stand there and watch people actually look at my art. And I was terrified.
So there's a gap there.
Uh-oh.
Right. There's a gap there.
Uh-oh.
Right.
Yeah, sure.
Because you got 10 years ago,
Yeah.
you're getting out the first piece of art.
Right.
Great experience. You
Yeah.
make it. It comes out of your brain and it sells.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, I'm not doing that again.
I did it for like a year or two,
Yeah,
but
okay,
it was like
yeah.
a weekend warrior,
Yeah.
and I would be out at my shop till like 2 a.m. making stuff sometimes. And there was a very brief period where a couple of girlfriends and we rented a shop over in Cambria, California, which is like a local beach town, and we had the shop open Thursday through Sunday. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be an artist. I'm gonna do this. So I went part-time litigation. And my boss at the time was like, you're a fart in a skillet. I can't keep track of you. Fine, go be an artist. That's fine. But can you come back like give me 30 hours a week? I'm like, I can do that.
Yeah.
So I was working litigation 30 hours a week, which really was like 60. And then I was going out in my shop at night and on the weekends so that I could make stuff for the shop. And then I was driving in Cambria, which is like 2.5 hours from where I live. I would leave Thursday and I'd come back early Monday morning. I did it from Thanksgiving through Christmas. We shut the shop and I didn't go out in my shop for like 6 years.
Well,
I didn't create it all because it
that's
killed me.
incredibly draining.
It
like
was
physically, mentally, everything.
I was like, I don't want to be an artist. This is dumb. This is why would I want to do this?
I feel like the business plan was flawed.
Absolutely. I had to find that balance. And I think balance is important no matter what you do.
So now,
balance.
6 years after that experiment,
Right.
and you decided to go all in for the Yes team. And how do you balance now?
So my parents hired me. Well, not hired me. That's dumb. My parents, we did like a group project together. So I remodeled my parents' front yard, and my dad and I and my mom worked together to build this. It's a beautiful patio. We did a basket woven fence. We used 12 inches by 10 foot long strips, and we basically made a giant basket woven fence. And then I hand cut their gate out. And my dad and I it was the first time I learned how to drill and tap, which I can't wait to drill and tap again because it's so much easier. Like you can paint stuff, you can do whatever you want. You can still glue it together. Right. It still goes together.
Yeah.
And so that was a game changer for me. I did that and it got me, that was kind of the first big art thing I've done in the last few years because I went from full-time litigation to working really intensely for this client in-house counsel for a year and a half, almost 2 years. And then things have slowed down. And now I just do their land development and legal. And I just kind of just do whatever they need at this point. And so I now have more flexibility. And that project with my parents kind of got me fueled up to work again. And
the Kool-Aid went back in.
Yeah. I mean, it was a family project. So there were their ups and downs, right? There were lots
but that's not the Steel's fault.
No, that was not the Steel's fault. There were lots of laughter and tears and, but we did it. And I would not change. I got to spend time with my family, right. And create with my parents. And we used Sculpt Nouveau products. So we went through and we used their paint patinas for the fence. And then we used a cold patina for the gate. And so I got to work with those products and I was like, okay, these products are rad. I want to use them again. So anyway, it got me energized and we finished that. Mom wanted it done for Halloween because she always does an annual.
Last year?
Yeah, last year. So we finished it October last year. And then mom got sick. So she wound up not being able to do her party. But this year, you better watch out. It's going to be off the hook. I'm going to help her decorate. And we do life-size skeletons all over. And they're climbing all over the house. Anyway.
All in steel or just
Oh, I don't have time for that right now.
Okay, I'm like, wow.
No.
Just throw that on the pile.
No. They're like Walmart special, Amazon special.
Okay, yeah.
No. But the gate inspired me to do it and get back in. And I was like, and then my grandma passed away and my dad and I collaborated on this beautiful heart piece to honor my grandma for her funeral. And that was in January, February. And that was right before I went to go. And I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to go to New Jersey. I'm going to learn from Stephanie. And I don't know anybody. I have no expectations. I'm going to learn. And then I'm going to come home and see what happens. And here I am.
Awesome. So we're coming to the end of the interview here. It's an hour. That was awesome.
That went fast.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. This has been super fun. So, what's What's next? You're going to go home from Fabtech when? Thursday?
No, I fly out
Tomorrow?
at 6 a.m. tomorrow. I'm
That
leaving my
was-
hotel at 4.
Wow.
And I'm going to go to Arcs and Ills, and we're going to, maybe I just won't go to bed.
Yeah, no, it sounds like a...
Some of my new friends have been like, we'll carry you around. You can do it. I'm like, no, boys, I am.
I'm sure you've made
I'm
1,000
in my 40s.
friends this week.
I've had a blast. I've had a
Hey,
blast.
I'm older than you. Being in
Yeah.
your 40s is not an excuse.
It's been really fun to, you're not that much older than me. Like you got me a couple years. So it's been really fun gaining this social media following and coming to Fabtech and like meeting people, and people are coming up to me and like, you're the welder with the hair. And I'm like, what? Oh yeah. Okay. And I was like, I should have branded my hair, not this new logo thing that I did, but whatever. But it's been fun because people are recognizing me and they're coming up and they're saying, hey, I follow you. I've talked to you. And I was like, how cool is that? Like social media has given us an opportunity to reach out to like ends of the earth and meet people, and you feel like you know them. And then when you meet them, it's like so fun because they're the tradespeople I've met.
You get to meet the other layers
You
of them.
do.
Yeah.
And I've been so impressed with the tradespeople because they're what you see is what you get. And I didn't get that in the legal world. So
I do get a lot when people meet me that I am way shorter in real life than they thought.
So am I. They think the hair adds like 6 inches to my height. And so, yeah, no, you put me in a pair of 5-inch heels. I can run in them, by the way.
Yeah, no, I can run in heels too.
Oh, yes.
It takes practice.
It takes practice. Yes. Yeah. So no, what's next? I don't know. I'm along for the ride. I am just going to keep riding the journey as long as I'm
commissions lined up. That'll keep you busy for a bit.
The Grapevine is due October 1st. The restaurant's trying to open mid-October. And then I'm going to roll right into those 3 public art pieces. Right. And they're going to be fun. They're going to be really fun. And then I have smaller commission pieces that I'm going to do in between.
So you're locked up for the year, like till the end of the year.
I'm not going to take any significant commission pieces through June 1 because what I don't want to do is commit and not be able to deliver. And I'm big on that. Like, what is it? Under promise, over deliver. Yeah. That's kind of my motto. Like, I want to be very careful. Things have grown faster than I was ever expecting, which I'm grateful for.
But you don't want to burn that out.
I don't want to get too big for my britches. Like not too big for my britches, but take on more. I'm a 1-woman shop, so I don't want to take on more than I can handle in a time.
And you don't.
And I still have that day job, so
right.
You know?
And you don't want to burn yourself out. Like
right.
I mean, like it gets tough to maintain.
It does.
That level.
It does, and I'm grateful for Fabtech because Fabtech got me away from my shop, and I can't go out in my shop. I don't feel obligated to work on that piece, and I got a break. And I think that having the break and then meeting all the cool people and all the cool vendors and just being in this space. It's almost like going back to Underground Metalworks in February. I'm going back fully inspired, fully motivated. I'm ready to just knock some crazy stuff out, and I'm ready for it. Yeah.
Awesome. Is there anything that you want to do that add to that checklist? Like you said, you don't really know what would be the next thing, but I'm putting you on the spot. What would be something that you're like, I'd love to have X happen in my career?
You know what? That's the weird thing about art is I love that I don't know. I love that I don't know what I'm gonna get hired to do.
First installation on Mars.
Yeah,
or something.
right. Yeah, I want to go to Mars and like do the first art installation on Mars. Yeah, maybe that's my new goal. That might be a little. But talk to me in a couple years. Maybe I'll be ready for that one. No, you know what? I just kind of want to keep plugging along and just enjoying the ride. I don't want to set expectations because I don't. Well, first of all, the goals I set 6 months ago, I blew them out of the water, which I'm so grateful.
Win-win.
But yeah, win-win. I don't know. I just want to keep making cool stuff. Like I want to be cool enough that people hire me to make cool stuff.
Well, and you got painting classes possibly coming up, so there's a whole new angle to take on.
You know what? It's actually a figure painting or figure drawing class, figure painting.
Oh, like people's?
Yeah. Huh?
Like people?
Like people, yeah.
Okay.
Well, because I want to do some human sculptures.
Oh man, that's tough.
Yeah.
I don't even understand how people do. I just saw a sculpture of a hand made out of steel.
Right. No, I've seen some cool stuff out
I'm
there.
like, I even look at my own hand and not understand what I'm seeing.
I can draw a hand I can draw a hand. That's
really?
one thing. I was always good with hands and eyes. Yeah.
I can draw this things that only 17-year-old boys can draw.
Okay. Okay. I always could draw hands and eyes because that's the first thing I notice about people is their eyes. And I read lips because I'm like partially
I can draw
deaf,
an
right?
eye. I can do pretty good eyes.
So eyes and hands because I feel like eyes and handshakes are like the first way you meet someone. Like shake my hand, but shake my hand like a human. Like don't give me a good handshake.
Yeah.
Give me a good handshake.
Not like the.
No, if you grab my hand like a limp fish, we are not friends. No, it's not happening. Don't do it. Don't do it.
It feels dirty. Like
It's weird.
You got to get the
yeah,
hand
it's weird.
sanitizer after
It's
and be
weird.
like, that was not okay.
100%. 100%. Yeah. So what's next? I hope everything.
Good.
I really do feel like I am open to anything and everything, and I'm ready. I'm ready.
right.
I'm going to make some cool stuff.
Cool.
Watch out.
All right. Well, this is your space. Let the
Cool.
people know your website, how to find you,
Okay.
your handles. What's up?
So the easiest way to find me is you can go to my website, which is www.merakimetalworks.net, not com, .net. And Meraki is Meraki, and then Metalworks, plural, WORKS. That actually has links to my Instagram, links to everything. And then I've got a contact form if you want to reach out. But Instagram's probably the funnest because I'm trying to post fun content. And the Instagram handle is Meraki, Meraki, .metal, METAL, .works, WORKS, Meraki Metalworks.
Right.
So, and if you find a big sunflower, that's me.
You're the big sunflower.
I'm the big sunflower. I'm a big hair too, apparently. I'm the welder with the hair.
Is that a look that you wish to keep? Is this going to be like a trademark thing, like Ivan and his hat?
Right. So I've had this hairstyle for 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah.
It just changes colors. Like I was a peacock one time. I did teals and blues and purples, and I've done pink. I've done blue. I've done, So it's pretty much shaved with a faux hawk. Sometimes I'll do curls if I want to just be a little girly.
Yeah.
But no, this is it. And
That's awesome.
yeah.
I mean, it's you.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
My natural color is brown though. So I could do a brown faux hawk, but right now it's bleached out. So
I can tell.
yeah.
It looks awesome.
I'm a bottle blonde.
Yeah.
I can be dingy.
Well, thank you very much for coming on
thank you for the
show.
opportunity.
We had a ton of fun.
Yeah, it was good.
And I'll be seeing you tonight at Arcs Nails.
Absolutely.
And good luck with tomorrow morning.
Okay, you know what? You asked what's next. I'm going to try and make my flight. That is goal number 1. I got to get home. Yeah. So,
Awesome.
Thank you, Max.
You bet. And for all the people that have been watching the shows and checking out what's going on here at Fabtech, we got lots more coming. A couple more episodes. We've been working our butts off. Thanks to Daniela. I'm going to throw that out right now.
You guys have
Thanks
been busy.
to Daniela for making me stay on track and all the work that we've been doing. We're going to be at Arcs Nails tonight. EWI is tonight. The industry nights tonight. So there's lots of things going on, and we're going to have lots of fun. But stay tuned for the rest of the podcast from Fabtech, and keep sharing and downloading the episodes. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
We hope you enjoy the show.